Welcome to the Lynn and Mackenzie Show. This week, let's remember to accept the blessings that are already yours. Our guest today is Alexander Milovanov, and he's author of The Music of Divine Spheres. I'll also be giving you lots of fun and useful information, as well as answering your natural health, mind, and spirit questions later on in the show. But right now, let's get right to our guest. Today, we have with us Alexander Milovanov, and he's author of The Music of the Divine Spheres. Alexander is a scientist and engineer, a multi-book author, a spiritual explorer who works with cyber security and artificial intelligence for an advanced technology company. Welcome, Alexander.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Oh, I'm so glad that you're here. Now, Alexander, how is your book linked to ancient knowledge of ancient Egypt and consciousness?
For more than 20 years, I've been conducting research in ancient knowledge. During research, I discovered that ancient Egyptians and some other civilizations, compared to us, possessed a more accurate and much deeper understanding of the world, particularly concerning consciousness. Knowledge of human consciousness, its structure, and the laws governing its development has always been the most important knowledge of any civilization, because consciousness determines everything. Almost all ancient knowledge was lost by humanity millennia ago. Unfortunately, conventional science tends to overlook the sources of knowledge that came from ancient civilizations, due to its inability to comprehend their profound significance. However, even in ancient times, this knowledge wasn't for everyone. In ancient Egypt, for example, a select group of initiated priests grasped a comprehensive understanding of the laws of nature. For the general public, this knowledge was encoded within myths and legends, many later enshrined in ancient Egyptian religious texts. Moreover, foundational ideas in various belief systems in religions, including Christianity, were directly drawn from ancient Egyptian teachings. To illustrate, consider the familiar biblical narrative from Genesis, recounting the six-day creation story. However, ancient Egyptians viewed this myth as describing the process of crafting consciousness by spirit within all living entities, including humans. The knowledge I managed to find is so important to humanity that I couldn't keep it a secret. As a result, 2 books have appeared: The Music of the Divine Spheres and The Civilization of the Lost Connection.
Well, that's really interesting. Now, Alexander, what you're saying is that even in ancient times, people never actually just went in and believed all this stuff, that they didn't really believe and understand consciousness. Not everybody did, but some people did.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
They understood this much better than our science today.
Yeah, because they were, I guess, closer to nature and actually, I guess, closer to the start of civilization, I guess, huh?
I think it's because they get this knowledge from other sources.
Oh, okay. So you're thinking that maybe there were some galactic beings that came down, or...
Most likely this knowledge came from from previous civilizations.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot of sense. Now, so consciousness to you is everything or nothing? What is consciousness to you?
Consciousness determines everything in our life. So
so what you're saying is that because consciousness exists and it's comprised of everything in the universe, everything in on Earth, every being, every thought, everything is comprised of this consciousness, correct?
Consciousness is, I would say, attribute of any entities, and even planets and galaxies has a consciousness.
Oh, I didn't know that. See, he's the scientist. He knows all about this stuff. I don't know about this stuff. So even planets and stuff have their own consciousness. That makes a lot of sense. So we here in humanese, right? We want to make sure that we understand that we're just not the be-all, end-all of everything. That we actually have to be aware that everything exists. And everything is living, and everything contributes to everything, and that we have to make sure that we're not just putting ourselves in a little ego box saying we run everything, right?
Yes, exactly.
Right. And that's what I think part of your book is all about, right? Your subtitle of your book is The Rediscovered Ancient Knowledge of Human Consciousness, Sacred Geometry, and the Egyptian Pyramids That Can Change Your Life. And so what you're doing is you're kind of taking everything from Egypt and how they lived and worked with consciousness, and you found pathways on how this works. And so that's what you're sharing with everybody.
Yes, and I think the knowledge they collected is very important even in our times for people, and I can explain how later.
Okay, great. Now, why should we want to accelerate our level of consciousness? And why should we want to do that?
Accelerating the development of our consciousness is necessarily for one purpose, which is to reduce our suffering and gain happiness, because our consciousness directly determines our lives. However, depending on how a person lives, their consciousness can either develop or degrade. Ancient civilizations possessed knowledge about the structure of our consciousness, how to develop it correctly, and how to accelerate its evolutionary development. But then humanity completely lost it and forgot it. This knowledge that they managed to find can really help change this world for the better. The second part of your question delves into how can we develop our consciousness.
Right.
Many believe that meditations or withdrawing from society are pathway to the development of consciousness. However, these methods only help you to stop the intellect, that is, to create one of the conditions necessary for developing consciousness. Another essential condition is embracing the right belief system, grounded in accurate knowledge about the world, and shedding potent delusions. Ancient Egyptians understood that consciousness builds its structure based on the law of the spheres. Now is the most important thing. The spheres of our consciousness are formed only in the process of our active, practical, and creative endeavors aimed at making the world a better place. Taking action to make the world a better place means living by the laws of nature. When you do this, your spheres accumulate your experience and knowledge of the laws of nature, raising your consciousness to new levels. Actions that make the world worse, that is, those that go against the laws of nature, distort or destroy your consciousness. Thus, this not the God on the cloud who is watching you and punishing you for wrong actions, but you are punishing yourself. This is the wisdom of nature and its laws.
Well, that's interesting. So what I'm hearing from you, what I got a lot out of that, I mean, there was a lot that you gave in there, really. And so people can listen to this over and over again and get little pieces of information that can really help them. But what I'm seeing, too, is that when you develop your consciousness, you can use positive things like using positive thought or using, kind actions and doing everything that is nice and positive that creates happiness is a very good way to do it. Whereas if you're creating wars and you're being nasty or mean or, just using negative emotions, you're not only stopping your own growth from that, from ascending into the greater spheres of consciousness, but you're also not only doing that, but you're taking the total consciousness down because you're adding that negative energy to it. Is that correct?
Yeah, this negative effort that or things you are doing, they can distort your consciousness, its structure, or even can distort some layers in your consciousness.
And so what happens is that people have to first start of their belief systems. And what happens with that is that when we grow up, if you think that your way is the only right way, Everybody has grown up differently than you, no matter who it is. There's not the same exact way that people grow up. And so their belief systems are formed when they, not only from ancient times, but in your DNA, which most people don't know, but it's also formed by your parents and your interactions and everything like that. And so then what happens is that you have to make sure that what you're actually doing is correct, because and will support your belief system, but some of it is not right and it's incorrect. And so when you realize that something's incorrect, you have to make sure that you let it go so that you can stay in the positive, so that you can increase. And then the other part that I really liked was you said that your spheres of consciousness actually grow almost to the divine level when you are really taking care of people or the planet. You know, where you're doing positive actions to make sure that everybody is, going up in the world, or, feeling safe, or, even little things like that have a great big impact on your own consciousness, not only on the people that are around you, right?
Yeah, because through your actions, your experiences accumulated in spheres. And through your action and through your understanding of the world. So this knowledge of the world is accumulated also in your spheres and allows to creation of the new spheres that push your consciousness to new levels.
Oh, well, see, that's really great. So that everybody has the ability to grow into consciousness. It's like, it's not just you can't do it, you can't do it, you can do it. Everybody can do it, right?
No, this laws for everybody.
And it's actually happening every day, whether you like it or not, right? Because we're all learning all the time. But when you consciously try to increase consciousness, it's even better, right?
Of course, if you know the mechanism, it is even much better.
Right, and that's what your book teaches you, right, is the mechanism on how to increase your consciousness and increase your dynamic spheres, right?
Yes, of course.
See, I got it. See, I actually looked at your book, Alex. Yeah. And you know what, I have to tell you that we're talking very high standard, ethical, scientific stuff, but the book is not like that. The book is very easy to understand, very easy to read. We're just trying to give you pieces of the book here so that you can get a feel of what you can learn by reading this book. So this is what we're doing here. Okay, next question. How does the law of the spheres, how does that relate to consciousness? What is the law of the spheres?
According ancient Egyptians, our consciousness is composed of equal spheres, interconnected into a single cluster, where all the distances between the centers of all spheres are equal to the square roots of whole numbers. This is the law of the spheres. This cluster is easy to visualize because the cells of zygote, for example, form a similar cluster, obeying the same law. This is the most optimal and sustainable structure. The level of consciousness is directly correlated with the number of spheres within the cluster. As such, consciousness grows through the formation of new spheres.
So what you're saying is that, someone that really lives a lot of lessons in life and learns a lot has a lot of spheres banging around in their head. Maybe that's why I'm so nutsy. You finally explained it. Everybody wants to know that, and you finally explained it. Thank you, Alan. Okay, so you also, can you tell us a little bit about what is the mystery of what is the flower of life, and what is the mystery about it?
The ancient symbol of the flower of life has captivating minds for centuries. Its enigmatic meaning is shrouded in mystery. Despite countless attempts to decode its secrets, the knowledge has been lost to the sands of time, like many others. However, today you will discover the true meaning of this symbol. According to the laws of the spheres, the more spheres consciousness contains, the more intermediate levels it has. But that's not all. According to the latest scientific data, each person has several nested bodies of different types of matter, In total, we can have 1 physical, 1 etheric, 2 astral, and 4 mental bodies. Each level of our consciousness corresponds to one of the bodies of our spirit. The number of bodies and levels of consciousness a person possesses depends on their stage of evolutionary development. For most modern individuals, consciousness typically aligns with the 5th or 4th level. As one progresses in the evolutionary journey and completes the formation of all 8 bodies or 9 levels of consciousness, they reach a pivotal moment, the conclusion of the planetary cycle of evolution, heralding the beginning of the cosmic cycle. At this juncture, individuals attain extraordinary abilities such as clairvoyance, mastery over natural forces, and the power to select a planet within our universe for further evolution. The ancient symbol of the flower of life is a map of consciousness of a person who has completed the planetary cycle of evolution. This is exactly what the cluster of their consciousness looks like.
Wow. I always say right now that they say, what is it? The ascension level is number 7. I guess we're ascension level number 7. I'm always saying I'm working on 13 levels at once. I believe that there's 11 energy zones and that we work within these energy zones but I can be in many places at the same time. But, I've used my psychic abilities since I'm 8 years old, and I'll be almost 75. And I never stop studying, okay? Never, ever stop studying. So it's really interesting. And then living life. And because spirituality or even expanding consciousness doesn't mean that you don't live a life. It means that, you live life consciously, knowing what you're doing as much as you can, and you have to be mindful of that life. And when you get away from that and go into other matters, you always have to make sure that you're coming back to being mindful of the moment, so that because, really the past doesn't exist and the future doesn't really exist. All we have is this one moment. So it's very interesting that you're saying that we, as we develop, we start bringing in psychic abilities, and I found that there's 17 different kinds of psychic abilities, and so you're bringing in new psychic abilities with consciousness. So that's kind of interesting how that works. And it's also interesting that what you're saying is all these ancient truths and ancient teachings still have relevance today because they're universal truths.
Yeah, this is timeless knowledge.
Right. Exactly. So, for example, when you're doing truth, many people are struggling through life and they're going with their own truth. And there's a lot of ways to get to the truth. For example, if you're in religion, you can be Jewish, you can be Druze, you could be, Catholic, you could be Protestant, and they all have ways, and you're all going through and trying to expand consciousness and, get to God. But at the end of everything, there's a path to the universe, to God. I believe God is beyond consciousness, but and that path has universal laws in it that no matter where you're coming from at the bottom, you all have to go to and agree with all these universal laws. And what you're saying is that this timelessness in ancient wisdom helps us to learn about these universal laws so that we can leave the bottom half of Earth live it, but also live on a higher level so that we can be a part of the solution and not part of the problem. Right?
Yes.
Okay, good. I think I got it. I have to ask you every once in a while, because, he's one, you talk about artificial intelligence. I know Alex. If you think there's artificial intelligence, this one has real intelligence that's moving faster than you can think.
So, yes, everybody has different ways to achieve, to develop their consciousness. But the most important thing is that you have to be a good person. This is the most important in this way.
Right. And I keep telling everybody, you can aid consciousness and make a difference by just loving your kids or loving your dog or, being kind to a person on the street. It's everything is energy. And so when you're doing that, you're just uplifting consciousness, even in a small way. And if we all did that, wow, what would happen if there would be no wars? Oh my goodness. It would be great. Or no politics. Oh my goodness. Wouldn't that be great? Anyway, especially nowadays, I don't know. Anyway. Okay. So now, what is the music of the divine spheres? And is there any benefit to knowing about the music? What is this music?
This is an interesting question. When I tune 4 different musical instruments to tones in the proportions of the spheres of consciousness, I discovered that this sound generates certain feeling in us and resonates with our consciousness. Moreover, such a sound activates the consciousness and also produces a healing effect, 100% positive. One may hear examples of this sound on the Spheres of Consciousness YouTube channel. The same applies to light because colors, the same like sound tones, can be represented by frequencies. In other words, I managed to find a new musical scale and color scale that resonates with our consciousness.
Wow.
This is a new discovery. I haven't delved deeply into exploring the therapeutic potential of sound and light for various ailments because I had a different goal. My primary focus has been on understanding the ability to harmonize and activate consciousness, thereby fostering a connection with one's spirit. It is this spiritual connection that, in my view, holds the key to healing.
Well, that's great. We've got to go to break, though. So hold on to that thought, and we'll be back and talk a little bit about music and color and how that helps consciousness. And we'll be right back with Alexander and his wonderful book, The Music of the Divine Spheres. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're listening to the Linda Mackenzie Show, and we have with us Alexander Milovanov, and he's author of The Music of the Divine Spheres. Now, this book is available on Amazon.com, and you can order it from any bookstore. Just ask for it. It's, again, called The Music of the Divine Spheres by Alexander Milovanov, and that's Milovanov. And I'm very happy that I finally pronounced his name right. So, sometimes you just have a hard time, but he knows that I love him because Alex is just Alex, and his wife and his son are just incredible human beings too. Okay, so Alexander, back, we were talking about colors and music, so they expand different kinds of frequencies that can actually help us heal. And I had a friend of mine that, I know Pythagoras used to use music and color at a specific cycle and a specific note that actually helped to heal different specific illnesses, even back in the Greek days. So that was kind of interesting. So, but now we're going to talk a little bit about when somebody's reaching for expanded consciousness, expanding your consciousness. Do we get any help along the way?
What many people call expanded consciousness, in reality, just a state in those moments when you have connection with your higher self, with your spirit, or close to that state. In the typical state that more people are in, this connection is very weak, and the reason for that is the intellect. Usually people identify intellect with consciousness, and this is a big mistake since consciousness is much higher than intellect. Intellect can be compared to a computer that only helps you solve some specific task at the moment. The problem is that the intellect, when it's active, that is when you are thinking, blocks your connection with your consciousness and spirit. One can say that in those moments when thoughts are running in your head, you are no longer a conscious being. In an ordinary modern person, thoughts go on in continuous series, rarely stopping. What can your spirit do in such a situation when you don't feel it and don't perceive it? All it has to do is ignore you. When you learn how to stop the flow of your thoughts, at least for a few minutes, you become able to connect with your spirit again. In this condition, your spirit becomes able to help you in your life. Because the level and amount of information that your spirit processes almost instantly is much higher compared to intellect, and because your spirit and other planes can arrange events in your life, it seems to you like you are getting unexpected help from God. But most of the time you are getting help from higher self, simply because you are returned to your normal, natural state.
Well, that's an interesting thing. I think that you're right in a lot of ways, and that people attribute different things to God which are theirs. And it was very interesting because I was very first out and I was at a family function, and one of the women's of the relative, I don't know who, on my daughter's side, he was a minister. And I was telling him that I was helping some people, and then I said, I'm helping them psychically, and which was interesting because he's a minister. And I said, I'm helping him psychically, and but it's really God. And he said, no, it's not. It's you. The minister said, no, it's not. It's you. He said, there are times when God can come in and create that. He said, but a lot of times it is just you. So, and I believe that. And I also believe that there are intercessions along the way. And I know that this is true because I use them all the time. For example, if my computer goes down and I don't know what to do, my girlfriend Barbara is on the other side, right? And I say, Barbara, what the hell am I supposed to do? And she'll say, and I can hear her. She'll say, relax, try this. And I try that. And I know that's not coming from me. So you have the ability, when you get higher up in consciousness, to talk to people from the other side. You can, because everything exists, even a thought exists. And so when you are energetically connected, you can actually go and find the sources of things and go beyond, once you are beyond the normal human thing and more in your right brain than your left, because your left logical keeps you ABC, your right brain helps you connect to your consciousness. That's how I feel. I think Einstein said the same thing later on. I read the theory of relativity or something, said something like that. Anyway, so that's kind of nice. So it means that you should give yourself credit sometimes for the things that are happening, and other times really realize the difference when it's from outside sources and what's coming from you. So now, you talk a little bit about the mystery of the Great Pyramid. How does the mystery of the Great Pyramid help us?
To answer this question, let's forget for a while all the information about the Great Pyramid that you have heard before, because almost all this information is not true. This is just various ideas of individual scientists. This pyramid was never the tomb of pharaohs and wasn't created for such purposes, and its rooms of king and queen weren't created for any kings and queens. Official science still doesn't know who built the Great Pyramid as well as the purpose for which it was built. And this is strange because a man named Thoth, also known as Hermes Trismegistus, has described how exactly he built the pyramid. For example, he built the Great Pyramid using the proportions of the Earth and the Moon, which is the proportions of the golden ratio, and this is true. This fact, by the way, proves that Moon is an artificial object. This pyramid holds also the secret of the true value of pi, the proportions between linear and circular values. Note that currently scientists are still using, and we are still learning in high school, the wrong value of pi.
So you're saying that the pi, like pi,
yes,
is in the pyramids.
Yes, it's
the essence of the pyramid.
It's encoded in pyramid.
Okay.
But the most important, the Great Pyramid is a portal connecting several dimensions, and in my book I am describing how exactly it connects them. Ancient Egyptians used this pyramid as a tool to help them travel between dimensions, using the power of mind, and gained invaluable knowledge about the universe and its laws. Another important thing is that this pyramid covers the entrance into the Hall of Amenti, the big library of accumulated knowledge and technologies left by ancient civilizations. The official science will never tell you about all these things.
Do they know about that? Does official science know about these portals and things like that? I mean, I can tell you some things later, that
I think they know, but they never tell you about this.
Right. It's kind of like the Catholic Church actually knows that there was a lot of women involved and stuff, and they were priests and stuff, and they're, no, you're not allowed to do that anymore. Well, that's really interesting, and this is just the tip of the iceberg into this book, by the way. There's a lot of interesting things in here that can help you expand your consciousness. Now, where can people get your book, Alex?
On my website, milovanovbooks.com, and the Music of the Divine Spheres is available also from Amazon Kindle and Barnes & Noble. You may visit also johnhuntpublishing.com for more information. Additional valuable information not included in the book is available on my website. I hope that this knowledge will help people a lot in their spiritual growth.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you so much for being a guest on our show. And everyone get his book, Alexandra Milovanov's The Music of the Divine Spheres. We'll be right back.